All right, what's going on, everybody? The Iceman here on the Jeffrey Rose YouTube channel, the Iceman V2013 YouTube channel. And, I got to be honest with you. After Monday Night's Raw last night and the Chris Jericho podcast with John Cena, I'm very, very, lost in the opinions of everybody that has been talking about Raw and the podcast. And I'm going to get into this, first. There's been wrestling news sites, and there's also been YouTube channels that are saying that Adrian Neville got buried on Raw last night. How can you honestly say that? First off, he went up against the WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. This was the best match of the night on Monday Night Raw. And Neville showed what he can do here to the WWE Monday Night Raw fans. He was awesome. Yeah, I mean, did you really expect him to honestly go up against Seth Rollins, the newly crowned WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and beat him? Come on, be realistic. Neville went in there and he gave Rollins everything he could handle. This was the best match of the night, and quite honestly, Neville is going to be a force to be reckoned with here in the WWE from years to come. No doubt in my mind. I'm glad he's on Monday Night Raw. A lot of people are saying, well, why did they put him up against the champion Seth Rollins? Because this is the way to show his credibility, to go up against the WWE World Heavyweight Champion and show what he can do. And he showed what he can do. Because Adrian Neville, now Neville, quote unquote, is, he's real here in the WWE. And people need to get over it. WWE did not bury Neville. Going up against Seth Rollins only enhanced his integrity, his credibility within the ring, and it's only going to get better. So people need to get over that. Now, the Chris Jericho podcast with John Cena, there's a lot of hate on that as well. A lot of people are saying, well, Chris Jericho wasn't tough enough with John Cena. I watched the podcast, and, it was a basic podcast where Chris Jericho was Chris Jericho, John Cena was John Cena. It was a very down-to-earth video podcast. A lot of questions were asked, and basically John Cena talked about his early days in OVW, and even prior to that. Obviously when he was in OVW, you saw the likes of Batista, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton. There was just a lot of great talent back down there, at the time. And, they talked about that. And they just talked about, just throughout the whole show, it was like, going through the phase of the John Cena era. And John Cena had openly admitted, basically, he did some things on his own. He wanted to catch the attentions of the creative team and the fans. And once the fans caught the attention of John Cena, they moved on from there. Creative went with it and whatnot. As far as John Cena going heel, the question was asked. And John Cena actually did really have a very good answer for all of that. Basically, he's in it. Like he said, when he sees a little child out there, holding a John Cena fan or wearing a John Cena shirt or holding up the hustle, loyalty, respect banner, this is what it's all about for John Cena, because he doesn't want to disappoint the little kids out there and whatnot. And like John said, until there comes a time where somebody else can come take his place and do it for the younger kids, because this is the biggest thing for John Cena, he's not going to turn heel. They talked about who's the next face in the WWE. John Cena didn't say a heck of a lot about that, but he did mention, Roman Reigns, saying Roman Reigns, is like a great wrestler. He's a great talent. Um, the fans have not really taken to him yet, and Roman Reigns sort of like really needs to do something to grab that. And obviously, if you listen to this podcast or watch this podcast, which was on the WWE Network again this morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and you watch the whole podcast, it was a very genuine John Cena. You can see that John Cena in the ring is the same John Cena out of the ring. Um, he and Jericho talked about their good times they used to have, way back in the past, how, John Cena outdrank Chris Jericho under the table. They talked about their times in Alaska. They talked about a lot of things. They talked about the very first time that Cena and Jericho had a match in 2005 where the chants started going, "Let's go Cena. Cena sucks." So those chants have been around forever. Jericho asked John about, what he thought about the chants. And, like John said, he goes, "It is what it is." And the bottom line is you get a reaction. It means you're doing something right. And he has learned to live with the bad chants, but he also embraces, the "Let's go Cena" chants. And the bottom line is, he was right. He was talking about Vince McMahon. He loved the aspect of McMahon saying you need to grab the brass ring. And like John said, people right now in this PG era are afraid to go and cross the line. But like he said, somebody needs to do that. Somebody will be noticed if they do that. They did not talk about Seth Rollins, and I was sort of surprised about that. But the bottom line is, with John talking about crossing the line, we all know that he was talking about Seth Rollins, who has crossed the line, and he has really become the major deal here in the WWE. And there's no doubt about it. A lot of people are saying that, you know, Seth Rollins is basically on TV too much. Well, the bottom line is other people step up, make their move, and make a case, and maybe you'll get more airtime. But for now, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins will get the airtime. And overall, the podcast with Chris Jericho and John Cena was very refreshing because you learned a lot about John Cena and his relationship with Chris Jericho and John Cena's relationship with Vince McMahon and the WWE. And it was very, very refreshing. I know a lot of people out there were looking for some like negative questions from Chris Jericho, and I thought there was going to be some myself, but there wasn't. But overall, how can you really badmouth this podcast? I thought it was excellent. I thought it was great. As far as Monday Night Raw goes, a lot of people were trashing Raw last night. Two matches stood out for me, and that was Neville and Seth Rollins, John Cena and Stardust for the U.S. title. And everything else was really, really surrounding around Randy Orton facing Seth Rollins at Extreme Rules. And that was really what the whole night was really all about. I had no problem with the show. I had no problem with the Chris Jericho, John Cena podcast. I thought everything was pretty cool. So those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions here on the one and only Jeffrey Rose YouTube channel, the Iceman V2013 YouTube channel. Later on tonight on the Iceman's Return YouTube channel, we are going to give out the Frozen Choice Awards. Stay tuned. Peace out, everybody. Have yourself a great Tuesday.